Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 18, titled The Prayers Offered to the Lord by the Residents of Jambudvip. And reading the verse 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tatha cha Bhadrashava Nama Dharma Sutas Tatkula Pataya Purusha Bhadrashava Varshe Sakshad Bhagavato Vasudevasya Priyam Tanum Dharmamayim Haya Shirsha Bhidanam Paramena Samadhina Sannidhapyam Abhigrananta Upadhavanti. Word to word meanings. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shukdev Goswami said. Tatha cha. Similarly. Just as Lord Shiva worships Sankarshan in Ilavrata Varsha, Bhadrashrava, Nama, known as Dharmasutah, the son of Dharmaraj, Tat, of him, Kula Patayah, the chiefs of the dynasty, Purushaha, all the residents, Bhadrashva Varshe, in the land known as Bhadrashva Varsha, Sakshad, directly, Bhagavataha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudevasya, of Lord Vasudev, Priyam Tanum, very dear form, Dharmamayim, the director of all religious principles, Haya Shirsha Abhidhanam, the Lord's incarnation name Haya Shirsha, also called Haya Griva, Paramena Samadhina, with the highest form of trance, Sannidhapya, coming near, idam, this, Abhigranantaha, chanting, Upadhavanti, they worship. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, Bhadrashrava, the son of Dharmaraj, rules the tract of land known as Bhadrashva Varsha. Just as Lord Shiva worships Sankarshan in Ilavrata Varsha, Bhadrashrava, accompanied by his intimate servants and all the residents of the land, worships the plenary expansion of Vasudev known as Haya Shirsha. Lord Haya Shirsha is very dear to the devotees and he is the director of all religious principles. Fixed in the topmost trance, Bhadrashrava and his associates offer their respectful obeisances to the Lord and chant the following prayers with careful pronunciation. So we'll read the next verse as well. I'll just read the verse. Bhadrashavasa uchuhu Om Namo Bhagavate Dharmayatma Vishodhanaya Nama Iti. Translation. The ruler Bhadrashrava and his intimate associates utter the following prayer. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all religious principles, who cleanses the heart of the conditioned soul in this material world. Again and again we offer our respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. Foolish materialistic persons do not know how they are being controlled and punished at every step by the laws of nature. They think they are very happy in the conditioned state of material life, not knowing the purpose of repeated birth, death, old age and disease. Therefore in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, Lord Krishna describes such materialistic persons as moodas, rascals. Namam dushkritino mooda prapadyante naradhama. These moodas do not know that if they want to purify themselves, they must worship Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, by performing penances and austerities. This purification is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for blind indulgence in sense gratification. In the human form, the living being must engage himself in Krishna consciousness to purify his existence. Tapo divyam putraka riyena sattvam shuddhet. This is the instruction of King Rishabdev to his sons. In the human form of life, one must undergo all kinds of austerities to purify his existence. Yasmad Brahma Saukhyam to Anantam. We are all seeking happiness, but because of our ignorance and foolishness, we cannot know what unobstructed happiness really is. Unobstructed happiness is called Brahma Saukhya, spiritual happiness. Although we may get some so-called happiness in this material world, that happiness is temporary. The foolish materialist cannot understand this. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj points out, Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udvahato Vimudan. Merely for temporarily materialistic happiness, these rascals are making huge arrangements, and thus they are baffled life after life. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Tivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Ham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing this chapter 18 of the 5th canto, which is about the prayers offered to the Lord by the residents of Jambudvip. So previously we had been discussing there were multiple varshas in this Jambudvip, and in the previous chapter we were discussing about the Ilavrata Varsha, that how residents of Ilavrata Varsha and even Lord Shiva who resides in Ilavrata Varsha, basically it's given Lord Shiva was the only male who resides in that Ilavrata Varsha, and including him all the residents, they used to offer prayers to Sankarshan. That was their worshipable deity. And now here in this chapter multiple different varshas are described, and it's described that how all the residents of each and every varsha, they offered their obeisances or they offer their prayers to their respectful worshipable deity. So here in this verse we were discussing about a Varsha known as Bhadrashva Varsha. And here it is given that the ruler of this place is a ruler, the name of the ruler is Bhadrashva. And he offers his obeisances or he offers his respect to the worshipable deity in that place or the incarnation of Lord who is known as Hayagriva. Now we know the pastime of Hayagriva. Hayagriva is the one who retrieves the Vedic knowledge. Once the Vedic knowledge which is stolen by Brahma, by the demons, Hayagriva is the incarnation of the Lord who comes and retrieves that Vedic knowledge and returns it back to Brahma. So here it is given that all the inhabitants, including the ruler of that Bhadrashava Varsha, they engage in worshipping Hayagriva. Now in the consecutive verses, we'll see in this chapter how it's described that in different places or different Varshas that are there in this Jambu Deep, in all the different Varshas, there are some worshipable, there are some incarnations of the Lord, and how all the inhabitants are engaged in worshipping these incarnations. So one of the Varshas we know is Hari Varsha. And the famous devotee we speak about, Prahlad Maharaj, it is described that he resides in that place, Hari Varsha. And there he is engaged in worshipping Lord Narsimhadev. Or there are many amazing set of prayers will come in this chapter where Prahlad Maharaj is worshipping or offering his prayers to Lord Narsimhadev. And not just Prahlad Maharaj is described, all the inhabitants of that place, Hari Varsha, they are also engaged in worshipping Narsimhadev. Same way after that, the description comes of Ketumala Varsha. Now Ketumala Varsha is described that the Supreme Lord or Lord Rishikesh, he comes in the form of Cupid. Or he has a very, very beautiful form in that Varsha. Actually all forms of the Lord are beautiful, but still it's described that that form is very, very beautiful. And there all the inhabitants who are there, the goddess of fortune, goddesses of fortune who are there in that Varsha, the demigods who are there in that Varsha, they are offering their prayers to this form of the Lord in the Ketumala Varsha. Further there is a description of the Ramyaka Varsha. And in this place it's given that there are Manu and all the inhabitants in that place. They are offering their obeisances to the form of the Lord in the form of fish, which we know is the Matsya Avatar. So they are all engaged in worshipping the Lord in the Matsya form. Then there is another description of Varsha called as Hiranmaya Varsha. And here it's described that all the residents who are there, including Aryama, who is the ruler in that area, they are all engaged in worshipping the Kurma Murti of the Lord or the tortoise form of the Lord that is there. Kurma worship, Kurma form of the Lord. And finally there is another verse called as Uttar Kuru Varsh. And there the Lord is worshipped in the form of boar or the Varaha incarnation of the Lord. That is the presiding deity in that place. And Lord is being worshipped in that place in the form of a boar. So now one thing we can clearly see that in all the different Varshas are there. So till now we have discussed previously who are the residents in this Varsha, who are in these Varshas, or who are the people who end up in these Varshas. People who are pious, who engaged in activities given in the scriptures, who go to heavenly planets, and then after enjoying in the heavenly planets, when their little term or little credits are still left, then they come from those heavenly planets and they go in all these different Varshas which are there. And these Varshas are also called as Bhauma Swarga. They are also places meant for enjoyment. They are not meant for all these activities. They are not basically they are not meant for tapasya or all these things. These are places meant for enjoyment. But one thing surprising, we are seeing that in all the Varshas there is an incarnation of the Lord. And these inhabitants, they are also engaged in worshipping the Lord, or they are also engaged in this pious activity and also worshipping the different incarnations of the Lord. Even though these places are meant for enjoyment. But when I was reading all this, I was seeing one contradiction that is there is that the Bharat Varsha, which is actually said to be a Tapobhumi, which is actually said to be a place of austerities, a Punya Bhumi, where penances have to be performed. But here everyone is engaged in sense gratification. In all the other Varshas where actually enjoyment is there in plenty, so many things are available for enjoyment. And still because these people are pious, they are still engaged. Of course, that is not pure devotional service they do, but still they are engaged in worshipping the Lord. But here in this world where all the facilities are available, which is being created, this Varsha is created for doing austerities, still people are engaged in completely different activities in this Bharat Varsha. And so many glorification of this Bharat Varsha is given, of this place is given. Prabhupada speaks how this is the place where so many saintly persons appeared, We have the great acharyas like Ramanujarya, Madhvacharya, and all the other acharyas, they appeared in this place. So many incarnations of the Lord appears. We speak about Lord Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who appeared 500 years back. So all the facilities are there just so that people can engage in pure devotional service in this Tapobhumi, in this Punya Bhumi. And that is what in this verse also the instruction that Rishabdev, the Prabhupada quotes that instruction which Rishabdev gives to his sons. Out of which one of his eldest son was Bharat, out of which this name was given Bharatvarsha. So here Prabhupada quotes that verse, that is Nayam Deho Deho Bhajam Niloke Kashtan Kaman Arhate Veed Bhujamye Tapo Divyam Putraka Yena Sattvam Shuddhet Yasmat Brahma Sokyam the Ananta. So here Rishabdev is telling his sons that this form of body or this human form of life is not meant for engaging in material activities. Those kinds of activities everyone is performing. Here he's saying Arhate Veer Bhujamya, that even the pigs who are eating stool and all these animals who are there, they are also doing these material activities, they are also getting those kinds of happiness. But this human form of life is meant for tapasya. This human form of life is not meant for all these material happiness or all this engaging in sense gratification. But the human form of life is only meant for tapasya. And here Prabhupada also explains that why this tapasya is needed. Basically to purify our existence. Now question comes, why this purification is needed? So ultimately we can experience the bliss or we can experience that happiness in the spiritual realm that is there. Because we all know this concept that we are spirit souls, we are seeking for happiness. And that is the reason we do so many endeavors in this world. We are trying so many ways in this world just to get that happiness. But Rishabdev in this verse makes it very, very clear that whatever you do in this world, whatever type of ways you try, you cannot get any happiness in this world. Even Prahlad Maharaj in his praise to Narsimha Dev, he also says, Punah Punah Charvita Charvananam. That people are just chewing the chew, again and again chewing the chew, trying to feel or trying to think that some happiness they'll derive from the same thing. Even though so many people have tried the same things, they have not got any happiness, but still people are trying, aspiring for the same thing. But here in this verse, it's made quite clear that happiness can only be engaged by engaging in this austerity, engaging in austerity. Tapo divvam putraka yena sattvam shuddhet. That we can purify our existence by engaging in this austerity of devotional service. And that is how we can experience that ultimate happiness which we are all looking for. That is Brahma Sokyam ta Anantam. That is how a person can experience that Brahma Sokyam. And this is why we see that this Bharatvarsha is described as very, very glorious. All these different varshas are there, and there also we saw people are engaged, these inhabitants are engaged in worshipping the Lord. But the facilities for pure devotional service or facilities of association of so many great saintly personalities or so many incarnations who came in this planet, that is only available in this Bharatvarsha. And that is why in this chapter only one of the verses where it comes, that even the heavenly people residing in the heavenly planets, they also desire, they also aspire, the demigods also aspire to take birth in this Bharatvarsha, just so that they can also purify and go back to the ultimate destination. In one of the Prabhupada explains the glory of this Bharatvarsha. He says, a short life in the land of Bharatvarsha is preferable to a life achieved even in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years. Because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. As we all know, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna, that even if one goes to Brahmaloka, he has to go to repeated birth and death. But in comparison, even a short life in this Bharatvarsha is very, very great. And he writes why. He writes, although life in Bharatvarsha in a lower planetary system is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself fully to Krishna consciousness and can achieve the highest perfection even in this short life by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord. And thus he can attain the highest destination where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a spiritual body. He can go to that highest destination. So this is how we understand that even though all these varshas that are there and great facilities for enjoyment is there, and even worship and pious activities are also going there, but still this is the land where a person can achieve the highest perfection. And that is why Prabhupada makes it clear that even in Brahmaloka, where there people are living for millions and billions of years, even there the person cannot achieve that spiritual perfection which can be achieved in a very, very short time. Of course, they can also achieve, but that same perfection we can achieve in a very, very short time by completely surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. But now this is the reality, but still we see, as Prabhupada describes in this person, the materialistic persons, they don't want to surrender to the Lord. So here Prabhupada writes that foolish materialistic persons do not know how they are being controlled and punished at every step by the laws of nature. Basically, these materialistic persons, as in the Gita we described the qualification as Muda, that these people are greatly foolish and they don't understand that how every step they are being punished, how they've been controlled by the laws of nature at every step. In yesterday's also class, we were also discussing that same point, that how everyone in this world, even though they are being controlled and they are being punished and kicked at every step, they think that they are the controllers. Everyone in this world wants to be the Ishvara, or everyone wants to be the master. Even though ultimate position is not supporting like that, we are meant to serve the Supreme Lord, but everyone wants to be the master in this world. And that is the disease that is there, that is the material disease that is there. And we see this disease common in everyone. Every place we go to our office, there also some person wants to be a master, control some people under him. In a family, the head of the family wants to control the others who are there under him. Like that, every place we go, everywhere we go, every person wants to be the master, or every person wants to be the controller. But here Prabhupada very clearly writes that ultimately all of us are being controlled, or all of us are controlled and punished at every step. But because of this disease that is there, the material disease of becoming the master, we face so many problems, or we face all these punishments by these three kleshas that are there, or by the material energy that are there, and still we don't realize, or still we don't take to worship of the Supreme Lord. And that is why it's given that people in this world are always very, very fearful. They are very, very fearful because they might be in some control of some aspect of some people or whatever it is. But they are fearful that any time this control can be taken away from us. We see people in a family, head of a family is always worried. When these people will go out of my control, when these people will stop listening to me. Because everyone wants to be the controller, but still they have that feeling, they know that I cannot be permanently the controller. But because of this disease that is there, they still try as much as possible, for as much long as possible, they try to control things. But ultimately, whatever it ends up in frustration. And why this thing is there, why people do like this, even after seeing all this thing, or even after understanding they cannot control, even after getting punished, they do like this. So this is made very, very clear in one of the prayers of Kunti Maharani. So she says this thing that Maya Javanika Channam Agya Dhokshajam Avyayam Na Lakshase Mudo Disha Nato Natya Dharo Yatha. She says that why people act like this, or why people are this illusory energy, because Lord's illusory energy, or this curtain that is there, Maya Yavanika Channam, this curtain of the Lord's illusory energy, it covers everyone. And because of this covering, we all know that Maya has two Shaktis or two energies, that are Prakshepatmika Shakti and Avaranatmika Shakti. Avaranatmika Shakti is the one which covers the living entity, which makes him forget his real position, that he is meant to be a servant, rather he feels he is the master. And Prakshepatmika Shakti is the one when the person actually aspires for understanding his position, aspires to practice spiritual life. Prakshepatmika Shakti is the testing potency of the Lord, or testing potency of Maya, which tests that entity, whether he is very, very serious about understanding his position, or he is just going there for time pass. And that is a Shakti which sometimes pulls away a person, or throws away a person who wants to understand his real position, and puts him into illusion again. So we know all these two potencies that covers the Lord, and that's why Kunti Maharani says that this is the reason, because of this covering, people are not able to understand the Supreme Lord. They are not able to approach the Supreme Lord, because they are being covered by these two potencies. And Lord, who is above the senses, who is Adokshajam, who cannot be understood by the senses, naturally when people are covered by these potencies, they try to, even though they try to understand the Lord by their material senses, they cannot understand. And that's why she also says, Na Lakshase Mudo Disha, that these people, they cannot understand the Lord, they cannot see the Lord as they are. And Nato Natya Dharo Yatha. Just like the example she gives is a very nice example, just like an artist who is there, or a movie actor who is there, he acts in a movie. He acts very nicely, he plays the role of the actor. And the foolish observers or who are there, or especially when we see young people who go to see a movie, first time they are watching a movie, they actually start feeling that this movie actor is actually that person who he plays the role of. They don't realize that he is just an ordinary person and he is playing the role of that personality. And the same is the way everyone in this world is being fooled. Even though the Lord, when he comes to this world, he comes in his own spiritual form, he does so many pastimes. But these people, they feel that he is also one of us. They don't realize his supreme identity. They also think that he does some activities just like all of us. And that is what Kunti Maharani is saying, that these people, they get fooled by this thing of the Lord. Because of their covering, they are not able to understand the real position of the Lord. And that is why even when it comes to devotees, they also get bewildered. In this pastime, even Kunti Maharani says that she also sometimes gets bewildered. Of course, when we understand the great devotees who are there, pure devotees, they get bewildered by the internal potency of the Lord. Even if sometimes they are also bewildered, they are bewildered by the Yog Maya of the Lord. But people in general, they are bewildered by the Mahamaya or the external potency of the Lord. But this is the potency of the Lord, and this is the greatness of the Lord, that even great devotees are sometimes put into bewilderment. And she gives many examples. She speaks another shloka where she says, Janma karma cha vishwa atmam ajasya akartur atmana tiryan nishushu yadashu tad atyanta vidambanam. So she speaks that you take birth. Although you are unborn, you take birth in this world. And then she says that although you have nothing to do, that's what the Vedas say, na tasya karnam karnam cha vidyate, that Lord has nothing to do. Even though you have nothing to do, you do so many activities. And you take birth in the human species of life, you take birth in the fish species of life, as we discussed the Matsya avatar. You take birth in so many species, and that sometimes even bewilders me. This is how we see even sometimes great devotees bewildered by these activities of the Lord. But that bewilderment is only for some time. That is under the Yog Maya potency of the Lord. But here, what Prabhupada is speaking in the purport is how everyone in this world is bewildered by the Mahamaya potency of the Lord, being covered by this curtain, or being covered by this curtain of illusory energy. Now what happens is, these Mulas, they do not know that if they want to purify themselves, they must worship Lord Vasudeva by performing penances and austerities. They don't understand, because they are completely illusioned by this illusory energy, they don't understand that purpose of life is to purify ourselves, and for that we have to worship the Supreme Lord. But then out of these we see some people, after realizing, after trying again and again, when they realize there is no happiness, they take to the path of Vedic scriptures. They take to the different activities, rituals given in the Vedas, and they think, okay, ultimately everyone wants happiness. They understand that there is no happiness in this material world, so let me strive for heavenly happiness. Let me follow the Vedic procedures. That's what the Gita says, Veda Vata Ratha Partha. There these class of people who are attracted to this flowery language of the Vedas. And they take to the Vedic rules and regulations just for some heavenly happiness. But even those people are bewildered in the ultimate attempt, or those people are also bewildered in the ultimate run. Because very clearly, as we discussed previously, even if we go somewhere higher or lower, ultimately the person does not get out of the cycle of birth and death. And here, in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he speaks a very amazing analogy to explain this thing. In his instructions to Sanatan Goswami, he speaks this shloka. He says, Kabhu swarge uthaya, kabhu narke dubaya, dandya jane raja yena nadite chubaya. So he speaks how in this material world, people are striving. Sometimes they feel that there is no happiness in this world, and they strive for higher planetary systems. And sometimes the person is pulled up to the higher planetary, he goes to the higher planetary systems. Kabhi swarge uthaya, he goes to the Swarga or the heavenly planets. And after his credits are finished, he again come back here, and due to some sinful activities, sometimes he goes downwards in the lower planetary systems. This is a person keeps on going back and forth. And the condition is compared, the comparison is given a very nice comparison. He is compared to a criminal in a prison house. So we have seen, sometimes we see that how criminals are punished, or the third degree torture that is given to them, that sometimes they are put inside the water, or their face is dunked inside the water, and after some time they'll pulled up. For few minutes they are pulled up and they feel very satisfied, they are breathing very, very happily, taking in lots of air, feeling that it's okay. And again they are pulled down inside the water. Again, after some time, they are pulled up and again they feel very relaxed, very satisfied, or feel little happiness. And this is the analogy which is given for these people who are wandering in this world, looking for happiness in the heavenly planets. That happiness is just like this happiness of a person who is actually being punished, being dunked in the water. And sometimes he is taken out of the water and he feels very happy, feels very satisfied. This is what the happiness of these people who are aspiring for heavenly happiness, who are aspiring for these kinds of happiness. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his prayers, he speaks a very, very amazing thing, that how everyone in this world, he's caught up in this whirlpool. He says, Michhe mayar base, jacho beshe, khacho habu dubu bhai. So he says that how everyone, every living entity in this world, he's caught in this whirlpool of this material world. And even though he's trying his best, he is not able to come out of it. So if you have experience of whirlpool, if you see, it's very, very dangerous thing that is there. Even in this big, big rivers that are there, Ganga and all. Even sometimes when we go for boating, if the boatman sees a whirlpool, he'll take the boat far away from it. Because once I was hearing he was describing, if someone actually goes near the whirlpool, it is very, very dangerous and it has a tendency to pull the person. If someone actually even is a very, very nice swimmer or something, he thinks that he can cross or he can swim over this whirlpool, even that person is pulled like anything in the whirlpool and is thrown away in the water. Ultimately, a person drowns in that whirlpool. And same with the comparison that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives, that in this material world, we are also put in a whirlpool of these senseless activities that are there. We are also put in this whirlpool of this material prison, and we are also being pulled lower and lower. This whirlpool is just pulling us lower and lower. And then he writes, what is the solution, how we can actually get out of this whirlpool? He says, Jeev Krishna Das, ei Vishwas karle to aur dukh nai. If a person understands his original position, if a person understands that he is the spirit soul, he is meant for rendering his service to the Supreme Lord, Jeev Krishna Das, ei Vishwas. If he has a firm determination that he is an eternal servant of the Lord and he is meant to engage in service of the Supreme Lord, only then he can be free from all these miseries. Or then he can be free from all the sorrows that are there. Otherwise, a person may keep on trying so many things in this world for happiness, or he may try some things for elevation to higher planetary systems. He will not be satisfied in anything. He will be sorrowful ever. Only when a person realizes his eternal position, that is to engage in worship of the Supreme Lord, that is to chant the holy names of the Lord, only then he can be happy. Only then these miseries of the material world can go away. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks in this praise, that just by chanting of the holy names, a person's all miseries can actually go away, or a person can be elevated to the highest position that is there. And there he says, that is the reason these two personalities, the most merciful personalities, that are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu, they came in this world, they descended in this world just to preach the glories of the holy name, just so that the person who is stuck in this whirlpool of material existence, he can get out of this planet, or he can actually get out of this whirlpool of material existence. Because just by chanting the holy names, a person gets purified, and then he understands that he is not a master, but he is a servant in this world. And when we understand this position that he is meant to serve, he is a servant in this world, that is his real position. At least till the time we don't understand, at least we have to aspire for that, aspire for understanding that we are meant to serve the Supreme Lord. That aspiration should be there. But even this aspiration, even to understand this, becomes very, very difficult for many people. Even to fathom that we are not masters, we are servant, it becomes very difficult. Just yesterday, one very funny thing happened when I was distributing books also. So one person, he came, he started talking, he started asking many questions. And then he was asking my background, that what do you do? I told him I'm serving full-time in the mission, or I'm serving full-time in ISKCON. So he asked about my background, okay, what did you do before this and that, so many things he was asking. And then finally when I told him everything, he was like shocked like anything. Why did you give this all up? You had so many things, you had such a nice job, you were working nicely. How can you give it all up? What did these people give to you? Basically the point he was saying is that you are a master in this world, you are ruling, you had so many things, so how can you become a servant like this, or how can you engage in worship of the Supreme Lord? So the point I was trying to make is, for normal people it's even difficult to fathom all these things, to understand all these things, that how can one become a servant, or how can one actually engage in service of the Supreme Lord. And they become shocked at hearing all these things. And even at the last, after I told him everything, after I convinced him also, at the end he said, okay, all that is good. Here's my card. He gave me his card, that here's my card. I am a manager in so and so company. If you need any help, you can call me anytime. Thinking that in future I may need some help, I may need some support, so I can contact him. I said, thank you very much. So this is the point for these people. They don't understand. They think that we have been, or we have become servants, or we are here struggling in this position and we need their help. But they don't understand. They are the ones who are struggling. They are the ones who are thinking they are masters, but everything will be taken away from them. And one very amazing thing, another point to understand when we speak this word servant, or about serving the Supreme Lord. So that also has to be very, very clear that people in this world, they have a different position, or they take a different designation when they hear the word servant. What they think is, okay, servant means someone being a housemaid or taking some money, going to some houses, cleaning the vessels or washing their floors. That is what we mean by servant. But here, when we are talking of becoming a servant, we are talking of coming back to our original constitutional position. We are not talking of becoming a housemaid in someone's house or washing the vessels or washing the floors. We are talking of becoming the servant of the Supreme Lord, which is actually our original constitutional position, and which can actually make us happy. Only when a person becomes happy, only when a person realizes this thing, when a person aspires for this thing, then only he can be happy and joyful. Otherwise, there is no way that a person can be happy. In this world, trying all these things, trying to become the master, a person can never be happy. But now another question may be asked that, okay, even after all this, why even after practicing bhakti, people become dissatisfied, or people are not so happy? So even for that, there can be many reasons why a person, even after practicing bhakti, if he doesn't become happy, if he doesn't become satisfied. One of the things that we have been discussing till now is that it's possible that a person is not at all practicing bhakti altogether, or he's not practicing pure devotional service. He may be doing some set of steps, he may be doing some activities, but that is not pure devotional service. Because as Prabhupada makes it very clear in that verse, Anya Abhilashata Shunyam, that Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. That a person can only practice pure devotional service when he follows the previous acharyas, when he follows the teachings of the acharyas, when he follows all those things in accordance with what has been given by the acharyas, in order to please those acharyas, in order to please the Supreme Lord. That is what is termed as pure devotional service. But unless a person engages in that activity, naturally it's possible that even if he might think that he is doing so-called bhakti, or he is doing some activities of devotional service, he still might not feel that happy, or still might not feel blissful. Now this is one case where people are practicing and they might say they are not happy because they might not be doing the correct procedure, they might not be following the correct process. But let's say a person who is following the process, who is following all the sadhana, who is following the different limbs of devotional service, then even if he doesn't get the result, sometimes it happens and he also becomes dissatisfied. So here a very amazing thing which is explained by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, that everyone in this world is aspiring for results. A karmi, he does his activity, he is looking for heavenly happiness, he is looking for happiness in the higher kingdoms. A jnani, he does all his activities, he does speculative knowledge and all that, he is aspiring for his result, he is aspiring for liberation. Just like that, even a devotee is very much attached to one result. He might not be attached to any result of this world, but one result he is also attached to, that is the highest result of pleasing the Supreme Lord. He is doing all his activities, he is doing all his sadhana just to please the Supreme Lord, just to please the Guru by his devotion. But even in that endeavor, sometimes what happens is when a person does prolonged sadhana and he doesn't see even any little bit results, sometimes he also falls from the path. And that's why in the Bhakti Alok, Bhakti Vinod Thakur explains about this principle, that a devotee has to be patient in the execution of devotional service. That he speaks one of the limbs which is favorable to the execution of devotional service, and that is Dharyat. Even if a person is practicing all the limbs that have been given by the acharyas, he is trying to practice pure devotional service, but even such a person doesn't see some results in some duration of time. Still, he has to be patient in the execution. He has to be very, very dharya in the execution of devotional service. And there Bhakti Vinod Thakur explains the mood of a devotee, that what should be the ideal mood of a devotee. He says that the mood of a devotee should be, he should think like this, that Krishna must be merciful to me either today or after 100 years or in some other birth. I will take shelter of his lotus feet with determination and never leave. This type of dharya, patience, is most desirable for the practitioners of devotional service. So this is a very, very high level of example which Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, that how a devotee has to be always patient. Whether he gets the results, whether he sees something or not, but still he should have this patience that one or the other day I'll get the mercy of the Lord. Or one or the other day the Lord will bestow his mercy on me, and his duty is, because he is a servant of the Supreme Lord, he has to engage in devotional service. He doesn't need to deviate in any other path, or he doesn't need to deviate from the path of devotional service, provided he is following the path of pure devotional service. Apart from following the path of pure devotional service, a person has to be very, very patient in the execution of devotional service. And one of the very classic examples we can give in this regard, the examples which comes from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the example of Mukunda Datta. We all know in the Mahaprakash Leela, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was bestowing benedictions on all the devotees. He was giving different benedictions to all the devotees who were assembled in that place. One devotee who was standing at the door, he was Mukunda Datta, standing outside the door. And everyone was waiting that when Lord will call this devotee, when Lord will be calling this devotee, when Lord will be bestowing his mercy on this devotee. And devotees, they have this mood, they want everyone to get the blessings, they want everyone to get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So when Mahaprabhu didn't call him at all, then other devotees, they went to Mahaprabhu that Mahaprabhu, Mukunda Datta is also there. He is waiting for you, he is waiting outside the door. And please call him, please bestow your mercy on him. And there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that I won't bestow his mercy on him soon. He says that I won't bestow my mercy on him soon, because even though when he comes here, he acts like a pure devotee, he speaks about pure devotional topics, but he also goes outside and he associates with the Mayavadis. And there he hears the Mayavad philosophy that is there. And that's why I won't bestow his mercy on him soon. Or somewhere it said that he said that I will bestow his mercy only after 10 million births to him. And Mukunda Datta, he heard this. Mukunda Datta, he heard this statement from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but his reaction was very, very surprising. A normal person, when he hears this, he'll become upset or he'll become little dissatisfied. I'll get mercy only after 10 million births and this and that. But Mukunda Datta, when he heard this, he was very, very happy, very, very jubilant. He was dancing because he was very, very happy that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will bestow his mercy on me, even after 10 million births, but he will bestow his mercy on me one day. He became so happy just by hearing this statement. So this is the mood, we can see the classic mood of Dharya, the patience he had, that whatever it is, I am meant to serve the Supreme Lord, I'll keep on engaging in his service. Whenever he wants, he can bestow his mercy. And we know what happened immediately after that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is there as Paramatma in everyone's heart. He could understand this mood of Mukunda Datta. He could understand that how Mukunda Datta is very, very patient and determined in his devotional service. And immediately after some time, he called Mukunda Datta inside and he bestowed his mercy on him. He bestows his benediction upon him. He gave in the benediction of association with pure devotees. This is how Mukunda Datta received the highest mercy, just by this quality of dharyat, or being patient in devotional service. And there are very, very many examples we can say how just by practicing devotional service with patience, with dharyat, a person can actually get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Another thing that is mentioned is that when a person receives the mercy of the Supreme Lord, when a Vaishnava receives the mercy of the Supreme Lord, he doesn't become unnecessarily proud. Or he doesn't become very, very happy, very, very proud that now I have got the mercy of the Supreme Lord, I have become very, very great. Rather, he stays very, very humble and he keeps on looking for more and more mercy. Because a devotee thinks that he is very, very fallen. And even after getting the mercy, even though he has been bestowed with that highest mercy, he still thinks that I need more mercy. Or I am still fallen and I need more mercy of the Supreme Lord. He never becomes very, very proud at getting the mercy of the Supreme Lord. At the same time, the other Vaishnavas who are there, they become very, very happy, or they become very, very happy when they see this person receiving the mercy of the Lord. In this case, when the devotees, they saw that Mukunda Datta has also received the mercy of the Supreme Lord, all the devotees there were very, very happy. They started chanting Hari Bol, because they were very, very happy that one devotee this person has received the mercy of the Supreme Lord. In another of the pastimes, we see when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was traveling throughout India, and he went to a place called as Ramakeli. Now when he was going to this place, none of the associates could understand that why Mahaprabhu is going to this place. why Mahaprabhu went to this place called as Ramkeli. And in Ramkeli, there were two persons who were there. Their name was Sakar Malik and Dabir Khas. And these two persons materially were very, very great that time. They were working in the government of Nawab Hussain Shah, and they were at a very, very great position. I think this Sakar Malik was the finance minister and Dabir Khas was the prime minister or something like that. Very, very great positions both of them were. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in this place, Ramakeli, it is described that both of them wrote letters to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So actually both these personalities are no one else but Sakar Malik is Sanatan Goswami and Dabir Khas is Rupa Goswami. And both these personalities who were materially very, very great at that time and in a very, very high position, they wrote a letter to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu where they told about their position, very, very fallen position. And in this letter it's described, they explained also that how they are actually fallen. They are serving the Mohammedan government, they are engaged in engaged in serving in a militia government, they are engaged in this activity, they have become outcasts from their own caste. And like that they wrote so many things explaining their fallen position. And of course that was not a letter of depression explaining all this fallen position, writing all the fallen position, and finally they say that we are the correct recipients, or we are the ones who should receive your mercy. Because we are so fallen, we are the most fallen among all the Vaishnavas, we are the ones who should receive your mercy. And it's described Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually came to that place Ramkeli only for one purpose. He was going throughout for a tour, but at that place he had no purpose altogether. His associates also didn't know why he came there. But there is described his mood of going to that place was just to bestow his mercy on these two personalities, that is Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. That is the first time these personalities met, or that is first time Rupa and Sanatan Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being placed by their humility, by being placed by their humble position, he actually bestowed his mercy on them. But one interesting that happens after that, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy on these two personalities, all the other Vaishnavas who had assembled there, Mahaprabhu told them that you also bless all these personalities, or you also bless these two personalities. And they were like, Mahaprabhu, you have already bestowed your blessings, what is the use of our blessings? And Mahaprabhu says, no, everyone, you are all Vaishnavas and you should also bless these devotees, or you should also bless these two personalities, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, so that they can advance in devotional service. And everyone was very, very happy again at that mood, and everyone was shouting, everyone was very, very jubilant, chanting the names of the Lord when these two personalities received the mercy of Mahaprabhu. There another very interesting thing is described that is related to this quality of what we discussed of Dharya. That when these two personalities, they actually received the blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all other personalities who were present there, they were also very, very happy. None of them was envious. None of them said, Arey, why these two personalities, even we are fallen, we should also get the mercy. None of them had that mood of enviousness towards them. Even though all of them had assembled there, they became very, very happy when they saw that someone has got the mercy of Lord Mahaprabhu, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there Prabhupada explains a very important thing in the purport. He explains that when a Vaishnava sees that another Vaishnava is a recipient of the Lord's mercy, he becomes very, very happy. Vaishnavas are not envious. If a Vaishnava by the mercy of the Lord is empowered by him to distribute the Lord's holy name all over the world, other Vaishnavas become very joyful. So this Prabhupada writes in a very, very important context that was happening at that time. When Prabhupada had become very, very successful, he preached in the West and he was very, very successful in all his efforts. But when he came back to India, there were many people who were criticizing him, who were criticizing all the activities he did. And here Prabhupada explains that actually a real Vaishnava is one who becomes happy at seeing someone getting the mercy of the Lord. If someone is empowered to do something great for the mission of the Lord, others become very, very pleased by that. They don't become envious. And here Prabhupada lies something very, very heavy. He says one who is envious of the success of a Vaishnava is certainly not a Vaishnava, but is an ordinary mundane man. One who becomes envious if someone is growing very nicely in devotional service, someone has received the mercy of the Lord, and anyone who becomes envious by seeing such a person, here Prabhupada writes that person is not actually a Vaishnava. And then he says, why should a Vaishnava be envious of another Vaishnava who is successful in spreading the holy name of a Lord? An actual Vaishnava is very pleased to accept another Vaishnava who is bestowing the Lord's mercy. And that's why he says a mundane person in the dress of a Vaishnava should not be respected but rejected. So here he is speaking about the enviousness that is there. If in the dress of a Vaishnava, someone sees another person advancing very nicely in devotional service and he becomes envious because of that. He becomes envious that this person has received the Lord's mercy. So here the Lord makes it very, very clear that even though he may be in the dress of a Vaishnava, such a person should be rejected, or he cannot be accepted as a Vaishnava. And this we come again to the point what we are discussing about Dhairyat. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in that thing that there are 6 enemies which every living entity has. What are the 6 enemies we have? We have the 6 enemies of lust, anger, greed, pride, envy and illusion. And there he explains that out of these 6, 5 enemies that are there, they can be engaged in the Lord's service. Lust can be engaged in the Lord's service by desiring to serve the Lord more and more. Greed can be engaged in Lord's service by desiring or having that greed to hear the Lord's pastimes more and more. And same way, illusion can be engaged by being illusioned by these material activities and only be engaged in spiritual activities. So like this, all these different enemies that we have can be engaged in the Lord's service, but one enemy that cannot be engaged in the Lord's service is enviousness. If someone is envious of someone else, someone is envious especially of Vaishnavas, then that person cannot advance in devotional service, or then that person is not even, as Prabhupada's own terms, that person is not even being fit to call a Vaishnava. Even though he may be in the dress of a Vaishnava, if he is envious of other Vaishnavas, he is not even fit to be called a Vaishnava. And this is the only quality that we see is not absent in the spiritual world. Because such a person who is envious cannot have any place in the spiritual world. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur in that purport he explains about Dhairyat, that the person has to tolerate all these 6 enemies, especially this envy has to be given up from the root. Other things has to be tolerated. When a person becomes lusty, greedy or some things, they have to be dovetailed in the Lord's service and they have to be tolerated. And envy has to be uprooted altogether. Because envy is the thing that actually hampers the spiritual life, or that will spoil the entire spiritual life of a person. And here Prabhupada in that purport only Prabhupada writes, there are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. There is no need to serve a jealous person who is in the dress of a Vaishnava. When Narottam Das Thakur says, Chhadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistar Paiche Keva, he is indicating an actual Vaishnava, not an envious or jealous person in the dress of a Vaishnava. So here Prabhupada makes it very, very clear that when we are talking of serving the Vaishnavas, or serving the Supreme Lord, or becoming the servant of the servants of the Lord, we are talking of becoming the servant of the Vaishnavas, who are actually Vaishnavas, who are very, very pleased when others receive the Lord mercy, one who becomes joyful in the joy of other devotees. But those who become envious seeing other devotees advancing devotional service, such people are not even fit to be called a Vaishnava, and there is no use of serving such persons. This is what Prabhupada makes it very, very clear. And this all he writes in the context of what was happening at that time, when he had become successful in preaching the Lord's holy message. But other devotees who are there, instead of becoming happy at his success, instead of becoming happy that this person is empowered by the Lord, or this great Acharya is empowered by the Lord to spread the holy name, they became envious of him and they started pulling him down. And later we know all such people who are there who criticized Prabhupada, they themselves fell down from the path of devotional service. And that way we can understand through this entire aspect is how we should also have to uproot this enemy that is there, enemy of spiritual life, that is enviousness. Enviousness towards others devotees. Especially when some devotee is able to do something nice, or some devotee is empowered by the Lord to do something nice and he is advancing very nicely and able to do something for the mission of the Lord, we should become very, very pleased seeing his advancement or seeing his devotional service, rather than becoming envious of him. Because if we become envious of devotees of the Lord and ultimately engage in blaspheming the devotees, then it will only pave the way for our fall down in devotional service. And that way we can never advance in devotional service. That is the biggest obstacle in our advancement in devotional service. So this way we understand that how devotee in the practice of the devotional service has to be patient, or that quality of Dhairyat has to be there, patient in the execution of devotional service, and tolerate to these 6 enemies of devotional life. Especially the enemy of enviousness that is there, that has to be completely uprooted. And when a devotee actually practices devotional service in this way, when he do the practice the different limbs of pure devotional service, being completely tolerant and being completely patient, then he can actually advance in devotional service and achieve the highest platform of devotional service. And as the purport here begins with people who are controlled by the Supreme Lord, everyone in this world is controlled by the Supreme Lord. But there is one personality who can actually even control the Supreme Lord. Or there are those personalities, even Lord comes under their control, and those are the pure devotees of the Lord. As Lord says in that pastime of Durvasa Muni, when he goes to the Supreme Lord, and Lord says that aham bhakta paradhino hi sutantra iva dvija sadhubir grasta hidya bhakter bhakta janapriya. That there is one class of personalities, Lord himself is saying that I am also under their control, or I am also not independent. Of course, in Tattva we understand Lord is always independent, but he voluntarily comes under the control of his pure devotees who engage in pure devotional service. And he says that because these devotees have given up everything, they have given up all kinds of material desires, and they have surrendered completely to me, they are completely dependent on me, I become dependent on them, or I become controlled by them. And he says, what to speak of just these devotees? Even bhakter bhakta janapriya, even devotees of these devotees, even those who are serving these devotees, even they become very, very dear to me. So that way we can understand, even if we serve the pure devotees, or even we serve the great Vaishnavas of the Lord, great devotees of the Lord, without enviousness, without jealousy, then we also can become very, very dear to the Lord. And then, as the Lord himself says, that even though everyone in this world is controlled by these three kleshas, or controlled by the material energy of the Lord, Lord himself voluntarily comes under the control of these devotees. This is how a person can advance in devotional service, to the extent where the Lord also comes under his control. And then definitely he'll be free from all these punishments of material nature. So with this I would like to pause here. Any questions we can take, realizations we can take later.
I have enviousness, Prabhuji. How to overcome?
Enviousness is something, so as we discussed also, other things, they can be dovetailed in the service of the Lord. Enviousness we cannot dovetail in the service of the Lord, and naturally, because in the current state we have been contaminated out in the outside world, so naturally all these things will be there, enviousness will also be there, but at least we should make an endeavor to give it up. That will only happen when we go deeper in devotional service, when we do our basic sadhana nicely, when we read the scriptures, when we understand that there is no place of enviousness in the spiritual world. Then, and with time, when we serve the devotees, most important, as it's given in this verse also, serving the devotees of the Lord. When we serve the great devotees of the Lord without any enviousness within, then by their mercy, by their blessings, this thing can go away. By our endeavor, we won't be able to give up this enviousness. But when we serve these devotees, just for their pleasure, just to please them, that's how we can get free from enviousness. That's how all these personalities who were there, the disciples of Prabhupada, who served Prabhupada, even though they didn't even know who is Lord Krishna, they didn't even know about these scriptures, but just serving Prabhupada without any enviousness for his pleasure, they became completely purified. So serving the great devotees without any ulterior motive, just for their pleasure, then with time we can get free. By their blessings we can get free from this enviousness. Otherwise, definitely it will always be there, because we are conditioned living entities after all. Yeah.
Prabhuji, last question. Prabhuji acts like a devotee but associates with Mayavadis, आपने बोला ना Prabhuji. Acts like devotee मतलब exactly क्या है?
Means he used to stay in the devotional circles also. He'll speak about pure devotional topics also, Mukunda Datta. But when he goes out of that circle, he'll mix with the impersonalists and he'll hear their philosophy also. The person who was there, sometimes people are there, no, who want to hear that also, this also, everything they want to hear.
How we can contemplate for ourselves?
Basically, we don't have to hear anything. Prabhupada makes it clear, Mayavadi bhashya sun le hoy sarvanash. So we shouldn't be eager to hear every content which is being spoken outside. There are many speakers who are very nice speakers. There are many, mesmerizing speakers. Even now such people are popular on YouTube. They'll speak very nicely and many people hear from them also, thinking that they are also devotees. But if we hear from such non-bona fide persons, then our entire devotional service will be lost. So we have to be very, very careful in whom we are hearing, and we should hear only those who are bona fide, who come in the parampara, authentic Vaishnava parampara. Otherwise, our devotional service will be lost, or Lord will also not be pleased by us. That way. ठीक है, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की।
Yeah.